Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 8 of the World Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Reef, here with my esteemed colleague, the man, the Sith, the legend, Darth Cyro. Darth Cyro, talk to me, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, Tribal Reef. How are you doing? It's been a fantastic week. We are on our way. Welcome to the WWP. How the heck are you?
Fantastic, man. Acknowledge me. I love the acknowledgement. Tribal Reef. The episode 8, this is the Crown Jewel Fallout episode. A lot happened over this past weekend of wrestling where we had Friday Night SmackDown, we had Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia, and we had Monday Night Raw also in Saudi Arabia. A lot went down. We have some more Bloodline advancements in that story. A lot of fallout there. We had some interesting updates in the Kevin Owens Randy Orton feud, and a lot more to get into with some title opportunities. So as always, Cyro, I'm gonna kick it off to you. Let me know what you want to get started with.
Tribal Reef, we're going to start with everybody's favorite topic. And at Crown Jewel, we witnessed Solo Sikoa pinning the OTC.
Oh yeah,
Roman Reigns, 1, 2, 3, in the middle of the ring.
We were wrong, by the way.
100%. Nearly as clear as it could have been. And
Samoan spikes.
And yeah, and then on Raw we saw the Usos come out, and of course they anointed Sami Zayn as Sami Uso, at least Jay did, and he notified us that of course Sami would be invited to SmackDown, so we'll see what happens there. But I must ask the Tribal Reef, does the OG Bloodline, after a crushing defeat, after Solo pins Roman Reigns in Saudi Arabia, does the OG Bloodline remain whole? Does the OG Bloodline stay as strong as they seem to be? Where were you at on that?
Well, I want to stop you because you say as strong as they seem to be. They don't seem strong. I think we miscalculated something last week when we spoke about the OG Bloodline. We talked about the talent that they have there because the talent's obviously there.
Sure.
But a crucial part is missing, and that's the trust and chemistry of them as a team and as a whole, as a unit. It's not there at all. And that completely took them out of contention against the OG Bloodline. I don't think the loss is what is creating that divide. I think the fallout after, with the events that happened after the match, where, you know, the Bloodline 2.0 with our tribal chief, Solo Sikoa, he commands that, you know, the Bloodline goes and attacks everyone in the ring after they had already won. I think is a bit overkill, but hey, I acknowledge my tribal chief. I allow him to make decisions himself. He made the call. He did his thing. Sami Zayn comes out, and they have Solo cornered, all four corners of the ring. Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and Sami Zayn with Solo smack dab in the middle. And Roman and Sami both go after Solo. Solo ducks under, and Sami hits Roman with a haluva kick. The thing that I see that is going to create a pretty serious stress fracture on an already weak unit, an already weak relationship, is going to be the fact that Jey Uso on Monday Night Raw takes Sami's side a little bit. He defends Sami Zayn, and Jimmy clearly pissed about that. And Roman, as Jimmy stated, is obviously pissed about it as well. We're going to see how this goes down on Friday night. But
obviously, Sami didn't mean it.
I don't know that we could say obviously he didn't mean it. He was very friendly and warm with Solo. Now, he did go up and hit him with like that exploder suplex. We saw that, the hug that turned into the belly-to-belly kind of move. I just don't know 100,000% that I can sit here and say Sami didn't mean it. And it's not even whether or not he meant it. It's whether or not he'd show remorse for it. And I doubt he'll show remorse for it. He does not like Roman. He does not care for Roman. He does not trust Roman. I think that's going to be the dividing point. It's going to come down to whether or not Sami is going to have any remorse for what happened. And I don't think he will. I don't know if we're going to see a collapse of the OG Bloodline, but I do know that there is some serious underlying issues, which just goes to show that Solo Sikoa is a much better leader at this point in time than Roman Reigns.
You know, I must say, I never thought that that Sami Zayn would come out and it was going to be like just them getting back together as what maybe some people thought was going to happen. What I saw when Sami went to hug Solo, I'll be honest. I for a split second thought to myself, "Holy shit!"
Yeah,
Sami Zayn has just
definitely.
aligned himself with the tribal chief, with the current bloodline, and has now he's aligned himself with Solo, and we're going to see a haluva kick on Roman. That's what I really thought was about to happen, or on Jey Uso rather,
Yeah.
into the chair. I really thought that could happen for a split second, and then when the exploded suplex happened,
the
I
thing
figured.
about that though is that Sammy's closest connection right now to any of these bloodline members is to Jay, and then obviously it started rough between them and everything, but I think they have a very, very strong bond together. So I didn't ever anticipate him going against Jay. I thought if anything he was going to try to maintain peace and be the guy that brings peace to them. There's clearly no intention of peace on either side here. And I think the biggest problem here is that no one's willing to acknowledge Solo from the OG bloodline as a tribal chief. Although he's done a fantastic job. I think that's why, like I said, when Jay aligned with his brother and cousin in Roman and Jimmy, I said he picked the wrong side. If he goes and aligns with Solo, I think they have a better chance of getting the other two in to align with Solo as well, and you have a unified bloodline. And then you can fight for that top spot later and keep it in the family, it'll be perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. But to kind of create an enemy of your family, and split your family apart, because you're essentially just dividing your own family here. And to just do that and to further the divide, Jay is in the wrong here. Jay said he told Solo he wants to see the family put together, but then he goes on the side that's dividing the family even more, right? I don't understand that logic, and so
it can only mean one thing: they disagree with the direction Solo's taking the family,
which
whether that's right or wrong. That's what I think it can mean. That's all I
fine. And you could step up to him after acknowledging him as a tribal chief, and then you could try to check for power and stuff like that afterwards. But unify the family, be a unified unit. We see this with the Judgment Day, right? This no leader bullshit. Jay wants to talk about we're all equals and there's no leaders and there's no this. It falls apart. People turn their backs. It falls apart. There needs to be a leader. When you have a group, there has to be a leader. Always. And so I think it's kind of a pipe dream for him. But back to the Sami Zayn thing, I think Sami would be in favor of everyone being unified, because I don't think Sami has any innate beef with Solo. I think his biggest problem was Solo doing all that damage to Jay afterwards. He's just trying to look out for his boy Jay. But I also think that he has a lot of love for Solo. Solo always defended him. He was always with him. You know, he kind of accepted. Solo didn't show much emotion, so it's not like he was sitting there the entire time laughing and giggling it up with Sami, but he always looked after him when Sami was the honorary use.
That's true.
I just think that there's going to be this serious fracture here, and Sami kind of stuck his nose in this, and now he's a part of it. But there is a serious fracture there that I don't know if they remain whole from this.
Wow. I don't. So OG bloodline might break up again.
It might fall apart, and I think it'll be good for them to fall apart and to fall in line with Solo. I think it gets dissolved into Solo's bloodline. And it should. If everyone's intention is the same and it's unifying the family like they say, then it makes the most sense to align with Solo Sikoa. It doesn't make sense to align with the guy that's splitting up the family.
I promise you, perhaps in our closing segment today, we might talk about the tribal chief. We might talk about acknowledging and what does that really mean. But I'll tell you right now, I'm not sure if they're going to be as fractured as to break up again. I would be willing to say that I think OG Bloodline is going to induct or at least bring in Sami Sammy into the fold, and I think somehow, I think Roman Reigns is going to have to, as I've been on this kind of journey now with you for a few weeks about what Roman needs to do to step up. I think Roman needs to continue to show that he is a man of his people and not the man that he wants his people to cherish. Just like he acknowledged Jimmy, just like he yeeted with Jay. I think we have to see him say, you know what, Sammy? You were doing what was right in the moment, and it was what it was. That's fine.
I guess the question that comes up from that is
call us even or something like that.
I guess the question that comes up from this though is Roman patient enough to keep on this path of becoming a better person to them and stuff, even though it's not going to be embraced right away. Like you see it with Jay. He did the yeet and Jay still wouldn't tag him in. Do you think Roman will be patient enough to overlook those things? Because will he take accountability for how much damage he actually did to Jay? And that's where I have a hard time believing. Now, I don't think they break up this Friday night on SmackDown, but I just don't think they heal it within enough time. I just see it's gonna remain broken for some time. I don't, like the question we asked is, will they remain whole? I don't think they're whole right now. I don't even think they are whole. They're missing a lot of that camaraderie there, and there's still a lot of tension there, and it's very clear and obvious, and it's clearly affecting them.
That's a fair take, and I can't wait to watch and see what happens with it. The OG Bloodline has a lot of people in their corner, and there's a lot of people looking at Solo and saying you're the reason that the Bloodline still exists right now. So let's see what happens.
Is. Now, I want to gear a little bit away from the Bloodline. Love the Bloodline talk. I mentioned Judgment Day earlier on in that topic there, and it brings me to our next topic. So 2 weeks ago on Raw, or not this past Raw, but the Raw prior, right? We watched Dominik Mysterio beat Damian Priest, and for whatever reason you called Damian dominant, even though he lost, and we went over that. We don't have to rehash that. But he beats Damian Priest in a #1 contenders match, right? And then this past Monday Night Raw, they put Damian Priest in a fatal 4-way for the #1 contender spot to fight against Gunther, and they put him in there with Dominik. I mean, they gave Dominik another chance to do it, but I guess my question is, what happened to Dominik Mysterio's title opportunity? Why, do you feel like he was unfairly, skipped over in this regard? Because now our #1 contender is Damian Priest.
It's funny that you bring this up because when we did the app last week, and I had wondered what you meant when you said Dominik's got the title shot, and I felt like a buffoon because I went to the Raw. I looked at the Raw results, and I went back and I rewatched, and I saw, well, yeah, they build that as a #1 contenders match. And although Damian was dominant, in my opinion, at the post-match, you were right in that Dominik earned himself a title op. It was what they were saying on Raw. So I was as surprised as anyone when I saw from Saudi Arabia, we're doing Raw this week, right? So now we're on to this past week's Raw, and all of a sudden I'm seeing we've got Damian Priest in a World Heavyweight Championship #1 contendership match between himself, Bronson Reed, Seth Rollins, and Sheamus, and Dominik again, and I'm like, what's going on? So my answer to you is, I do believe that somebody has either forgotten, or I think Dominik needs to grab a mic and say something about this. As much as I'm not a fan of him,
and he can't grab a mic and talk, dude. He doesn't have a chance.
Yeah, I know, but he's got to get somebody's attention and start talking about how he capitalized on that
Pierce
moment.
Is the only person whose attention he needs to get right now.
Sure. Unfortunately, Adam Pearce might still be suffering from neck contusions and whatever happened to him at the hands of Randy Orton. But we'll leave that for another topic.
I think that I agree with you though. He did get gypped in a way. Like he earned the title shot. And it's not like I think Dominik Mysterio has a chance in hell at beating Gunther. I mean, that's the quickest way to he might be the quickest sleep of all time in WWE. He gets to sleep within 10 seconds. I don't think that he has a chance in hell at beating Gunther, but there is that level of disrespect. Like, he won the match that they gave to him, and Adam Pearce gave it to him as just like, there's no way he's gonna beat this former world champion. Like, there's no chance. And then he does it, and you don't give him what he rightfully earned. I just, you gotta give him something for that. That's bullshit that you threw him into a fatal 4-way that didn't even end up like finishing in a clean way. I mean, Bronson Reed comes out and attacks pretty much everyone, which almost helped Dominik Mysterio, oddly enough. But he earned it in a 1v1 with Damian Priest, and I just feel like he should feel extremely slighted that Damian Priest is now the number 1 contender after that finish. I think. Do you think? I mean, when does this match even happen between Damian and Gunther? And do you think Gunther wins or Damian wins?
I actually think that Gunther. So I'm very excited that Damian's got his shot. I'm not as excited as to how it has come out. I think that it undermines Damian's reputability in getting the number 1 contendership. And so if I were Damian, I would want to be the first person to clarify why I deserve it over Dominik, even going as far as saying, I will fight you one more time, one-on-one, and I will put that contendership up for grabs. And to answer your question on point, I think Damian is in a must-win situation with Gunther. Even though Gunther is a stronger a wrestler, I think that Gunther should wipe the floor with him. I love Damian
I wouldn't
Priest.
say all that. It's a very evenly matched match.
I love Damian Priest. I would want to see him win. I just don't know if I want to see him win against Gunther. So
yeah, I don't want to see Gunther lose either.
Yeah, I would like. Well, I'm not saying that I don't. I think Gunther, in order for Damian to win, right? Eventually, Gunther has to lose. I just don't know if that's how we move the title over from Gunther to Damian. I don't love that because I don't see Damian taking it from Gunther. At least at this stage of Gunther's game. Gunther is at the top of his game. Not sure what happened at Crown
100%.
Jewel. I'm not sure whether Cody got him on a bad day.
But yeah, listen, it was the whole Crown Jewel thing was disgusting. I mean, dude, I can't. I'm disappointed in Gunther there, but he's taking accountability for it, so I have no doubts that he's gonna remain at the top of his game moving forward. Cody got absolutely lucky to win that one. I know Gunther doesn't want to say that, but he got absolutely lucky to win that one. I don't know what happened with Gunther, how he couldn't get his shoulders up on that pin. But what I will say is, if Dominik Mysterio doesn't get his one-on-one with Damian Priest again for that number 1 contendership, I don't think there's anyone on this planet that can blame him for interfering with a future Damian Priest Gunther match and making sure Gunther wins that match. Okay. I don't think anyone can blame Dominik Mysterio for that. I think he should do it. I think he's perfectly in the right for doing it. He's justified in doing it. And I think Adam Pearce needs to be heavily scrutinized by everyone for not giving Dominik Mysterio his championship shot. Again, I don't think he wins it, but fair is fair. He earned a shot. You give him a shot. It doesn't make any sense to not give him a shot.
We're going to have to see how it's going to play out. I do like your take on Dominik preventing a clean match if he doesn't kind of get a fair shot.
Damian didn't earn a clean match. He didn't earn a clean match against Gunther, so I don't want to see one.
I can totally see that. Let me ask you now, with regard to clean matches versus a match at all. There was no match at Crown Jewel in what was supposed to be Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton. It's for a second I thought there was a match, but there was never the bell. The bell never rang.
Bell never rang. Correct.
There was no contest, and so being that there was and Adam Pearce again. I don't know what's happening, but hopefully he doesn't need neck surgery. He suffered an RKO at the hands of Orton. My question for you is very simple. Are we going to see a second, or should I say first, match between Randy and Kevin? And if so, are we gearing up for War Games? When's that? Right? I know it's November 30th, but what's happening?
This is such a dangerous area to be in, right? Because these guys are boiling at this point. Their blood's boiling, and there's no one that can get involved that would be safe. We saw Adam Pearce get RKO'd. We see them go into the crowd and everything, and into that crowd area, and go through a table and this, that, and the third, right? This is a very, very dangerous match here. I think as general managers, you have to kind of weigh whether or not it's worth risking the health of your superstars to provide such an insanely intense match, and how you go about it. I think we have to see something between them, because if we don't see a match, an official match, this only gets worse, right? I said it last week. There is something that has snapped in Kevin Owens, and we saw it at Crown Jewel. I think that Nick Aldis and Triple H, especially Triple H, I think Triple H should step in and be like, this is what I was telling you about. This is why I said I wanted to protect you. This is why I'm keeping you two away from each other. Because if he lets him get in there, I think Kevin Owens does some serious damage to Randy Orton. And I think we may never see Randy again.
Wow, you are going on that protecting Randy Orton.
Bro, listen, I'm worried for him because this is a Kevin Owens that has no regard for human life at this point. He has felt like he lost it all. He feels cornered. He feels like everyone's out to get him. That's a dangerous man. That's a man with absolutely nothing to lose. And it's a scary place. And I just think that Randy, who I don't want to disrespect Randy as a wrestler, as a man, right? I don't want to say, oh, yeah, you're too weak to defend yourself here or something. But he's getting older. He's gone through a hell of a lot of surgeries already. He's not 100% of what he was in his prime. He's very breakable. And you have a guy that's willing to break him in every way, shape, or form and not stop at anything because he's so desperate and has lost everything. I think they need to protect Randy in this situation. I know it doesn't end without a match, but I think the only way it can end outside of a match is you got to kind of get them maybe different show. I don't know, man. Someone's got to be. I don't know how it ends, but if you think we may see the end of Randy Orton, and that's what worries me. I don't want to see.
I really can't see that. I really can't see. I can't see Randy Orton taking a back seat. He is so strong, so big, so tough. He's the legend killer, man. He's the Viper. Okay, I'm gonna let you have your hot take. I consider that to be a very hot, maybe steaming take. Randy Orton is still Randy Orton. God damn it. This guy has ended careers with his capabilities. But
absolutely, but again, dude, this is a Kevin Owens we haven't seen. I don't think we've really seen this side of Kevin Owens before.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin truly feels alone, and when a man gets to that point, that is a scary place to be. I just think that we're not giving that enough respect. I know you have all this respect in the world for Randy. So do I. I'm not denying any of the things you just said about Randy Orton. Mm-hmm. I'm saying all of that, it falls short in comparison to what the monster of Kevin Owens is becoming. So that's where I feel like that this is he's a monster right now, dude. He's not a human being. He's not someone that regards human life at this point. That is a very scary situation. And I don't care if it's Randy Orton or if it's any other superstar in the locker room that's on the other end of that, including someone like Cody Rhodes. That is not the place you want to put one of your superstars in because of just the amount of damage that I think Kevin Owens is capable of doing to them. I just feel like you got to protect your superstars here. You got to step in, and I think you got to get Kevin Owens away from the scene for some time, away from the business for a little bit, in order to protect your superstars. It might not be the popular thing. All the fans are gonna be like, oh, no, we want to see them break each other. Like, okay, that's cool. You want to see two guys absolutely ruin each other's lives. I understand that, but from a human perspective, maybe step out of the shell of these guys aren't robots. I know they can seem like it at times, but they're not. They're human beings. If you step out of that for a second, you might be like, okay, this is maybe a little too dangerous.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we're in that space of this is gonna get a little too dangerous.
Sure.
That's my opinion there.
I can see that. I can see some of that too. Yes, there's a look in Owens' eyes. I get that.
Yeah, and speaking of monsters, there's other monsters too, and this is starting to get into that same territory here at Crown Jewel. We watched Seth Rollins beat Bronson Reed. He went monster hunting, and he came out on top. But last week I mentioned this, and I said Rollins can beat him in this fully sanctioned match and this, disqualifications and countouts match, a standard wrestling match. He could definitely beat him in that. But I said I don't think he'll do enough. He could do enough to put Bronson Reed away and put him on the shelf, which is what he would need to do, and he failed to do that. After he pinned him 1, 2, 3, Bronson Reed was right back on his feet. He took 2 stomps and a super stomp, and still wasn't enough to beat him. You mentioned something to me earlier, a couple days ago. You mentioned something to me after that match, and I've been racking my brain trying to understand. I know you said wait till we get to the show. I get my question to you. You told me that Rollins brings something to the table that Bronson Reed couldn't, and I gotta know what the hell that is, because to me, even though he lost the match, Bronson Reed feels like the winner in my eyes. He wasn't put away. He stood tall after everything Rollins gave him. What did Rollins possibly bring to the table that Bronson Reed didn't? Or couldn't, in your words?
I knew you were going to say this. I knew you were going to do an I told you so moment with Bronson Reed still coming back and showing his strength.
I did. I told you.
And at Raw, we saw what he did. Arguably, we talked about World Heavyweight Championship contendership. Arguably robbing Rollins, specifically Rollins, obviously, of that possibility for himself. So, to be honest with you, I wanted to say Rollins brought the expected tenacity and just I want to say, I don't want to use the word dominance because that's not what it was. It was more like he was like a ravaging boar ready to go and destroy his prey. I felt like he was.
That's a take on his weight there. Go ahead.
Sure. No. I'm talking about Rollins.
Oh, you're talking about Rollins. I
felt that Rollins was
bored, and I thought I was like immediately thinking.
I think you're the one with the problem there, but Rollins, I felt like he was like that boar who was just gonna ravage his prey. But at the end of the match, you're right. I saw Bronson get back up. I saw Bronson look like, wait, this match was over? You just hit me with a couple of stomps. I'm back up. But at the end of the day, man, Rollins hit him with 2 stomps and a super stomp and put him away 1, 2, 3. And that's a W. Now, to your point,
it is a win.
Sure. Right? To your point,
he won the match.
But to your point, right? Did we put away Bronson Reed? Is he done? And the answer is absolutely not.
Absolutely not. No.
I mean, I'll be honest with you.
On Monday. He literally was there Monday to ruin Seth Rollins' chance, just like you said.
Well, and I'll even be more direct. Did Braun Strowman? Didn't he need Rollins to put away Bronson Reed? So just to go on record saying this, I haven't seen a single human take Bronson Reed and make him be not strong, make him be on the losing end. Sure, he gets his L. Sure, he doesn't necessarily win the match, but Bronson Reed keeps coming back. I think that something has to happen between Rollins and Bronson Reed that in order for Rollins to look like he imagines himself to look, like victorious on a long-term basis, he needs to put Bronson Reed away, like you've been saying. And I haven't seen any human do that. So someone's got to correct me.
To me, this screams I quit match. It screams I quit match to me. And the reason why is because that's the only way that you can honestly say, like, Seth Rollins won, but you can't honestly say that you put him down, you beat him. Like, it just doesn't feel like a win to me, right? Because he got right back up. You can't honestly tell me that there's any other way for you to say, like, that's it, I got you, I'm better, I beat you, you're done, you're nothing to me anymore, without making him say those words. And I don't know if Rollins is capable of saying those words. But at this point, I don't know if Bronson Reed is either. I think that's what makes it seem so imperative to have a match like that. And I can't see either one of them truly quitting. I don't think this culminates and happens at Survivor Games. Maybe it gets a little bit longer drawn out because they don't want to just throw the I Quit match right there. Maybe they want to help them settle it through like a no holds barred match, or something less sanctioned like a street fight. Maybe they let them do those things out a little bit more. I just think that the only way this gets solved is through an I Quit match. I don't think you see Bronson Reed ever stop until he makes Rollins say I quit or Rollins makes him say I quit. I do have a point I want to make though. I think that now that I'm thinking about it, Bronson Reed probably has more right to be in that fatal 4-way match than Damian Priest.
Oh my goodness! What a take!
Yeah, Damian Priest lost his only match going in for the contendership thing, and then immediately gets gifted without doing anything specific really to get another title shot, even though he lost the number one contender match to Dominik Mysterio. So he has no real claim to the number one claim to be in that match. I think that Bronson Reed has more of a claim there. And granted, he lost his match too, but he stood tall and he has been on this absolute tear for this specific reason. And I don't know, man. I feel like if anyone deserved it more, I'm not saying he deserved to be in it. Like I said, I'm on the side that Dominik Mysterio deserved to have a one-on-one. I don't know about this whole fatal 4-way in the first place. But if you're going to have a fatal 4-way and disrespect Dom like this, I just think Bronson Reed may deserve it a little bit more than Damian Priest at that point.
Okay, well, on the subject
both came off of losses. They both came off of losses.
I'm with you on that. Let's see what's going to happen. I need to see someone who's actually going to be able to put Bronson Reed away as like alone and like do it for good. I'm not seeing Bronson Reed. He's coming back. Keeps coming back stronger. I'm not sure what's happening. But Rollins did win, so congrats to Rollins on the W.
It'll have to be the championship. It'll have to be someone holding a title that can put him away, which would be Gunther. I think Gunther would have to be the one to put him away. Or Seth somehow wins the title and then puts him away or something. I don't know. But I just feel like you won't respect it enough. And it's not going to be a physical thing. It's going to be a respect thing that gets him to fall back. Is if he finally gets that shot that he's been fighting so hard for and then loses. That's what I think will make him like humble himself and take him down a notch or something, is that moment.
Yeah, I would love to see it. Bronson Reed came out and said a long time ago, made his intentions known. So he wants the title. He'd like to go after it sometime. I think that's what he views as prominence, and maybe he's just working his way to get there to show that he's never going to stop until he gets that. And I'll just tell you, on the subject of group matches, we finally saw at Crown Jewel, LA Knight. I would say he did his thing. I would say very cleanly he did his thing. He won. He was able to defeat Carmelo and Andrade. And there were moments that we thought it could go one way or the other, but at the end of the day, he hit the BFT and he dominated. So I'll be honest with you. I know that you and I, but at least where I was at, I thought that his officiating the last episode, I talked about that when he officiated Game 7 was absolute trash. But he's
a better wrestler than he is a referee.
But yeah. So on the subject of him being a great wrestler, we saw him actually win. Here's the question, very simple. He's had the title for a number of months now. Has LA Knight brought prestige to the U.S. Championship? We all know how important the prestige is. Has he brought prestige to the U.S. Championship?
I think he's brought more prestige than the former U.S. in the sense that he's defending it against some comes out on top kind of often. And now the only two people that we're really seeing him defend it against on a day-to-day basis here is clearly Andrade and Melo. I don't see any other superstars that are worthy of even challenging him for the U.S. Championship at the moment. So I think he's building enough prestige in the sense that he's playing with the cards that he's dealt, and he's doing a great job of it. He won this cleanly in the triple threat match. He's very clearly the best of the three. I just think there's a ceiling that he can't break through because there isn't enough worthy competitors that help him elevate it more. I think it's that time where I think he should just you need to find someone. This title is never gonna gain the kind of prestige that the WWE title holds, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's his next level, is he wants to bring that. But I think for him to be worthy of that, he needs to elevate this title even more. It's just so hard for me to see it happening with the talent pool we have at SmackDown. No one's showing enough edge to bring that to that title. So I think he's brought about as much prestige as he can at the moment. I guess that's my best answer for that.
That's fair enough. I personally would say he hasn't brought nearly enough prestige to it, despite that he's kicking ass week in and week out, or at least trying to. He's winning the matches. He's defending it. I would like to see that. I would personally like to see that LA Knight brings much more prestige to the title and makes it, one of the things that Logan Paul did was he made the title a little bit relevant outside of the confines of our lovely WWE. But what I need to see is I want to see, as you articulated, somebody who is really prominent, maybe go against LA Knight and say, I have my eyes on the, and then for them to go through maybe a loss.
Who would that be?
Can I be honest with you? I think if we can get through Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, there's a very real possibility we could have one of those two, and both of those two would be interesting to me.
Absolutely. That if LA Knight can be either one of them to maintain his title, definitely you rank him up. He prestiges again. Like Call of Duty.
I have one more.
To the next prestige.
I have one more that it could be, and I wanted to save this just for you. It could be Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, it can be, but it can't be.
I know.
I don't think Solo is going to allow him unless that bloodline gets unified. I don't think he's going to allow him to move to that space because that's his personal enforcer. The same reason why he gave up his tag title. He just can't be preoccupied with other stuff if he's going to be Solo's enforcer. So unless you make Roman your enforcer or something and the tables have turned, I just don't see that happening. It could be Jimmy Uso.
Since he arrived in June, Jacob Fatu has done so much. But I feel at this time, if Solo would like to raise his prominence, he can perhaps either distribute the enforcer responsibilities, or perhaps we know the bloodline's deeper. Without a unification, perhaps we dig further into the bloodline and bring in someone who can do the enforcement job while Fatu also builds himself as to where he needs to be. And I think if we do that, then we have ourselves a potential for Fatu to go against LA Knight for US title. If you put the bloodline with the with the tag champions, right, with the World Tag Championships, and you have a US championship, at that point, Solo Sikoa's got quite a case. I've pinned Roman Reigns.
Absolutely.
It's over, man, at that point.
100%. I mean, first of all, I'm already acknowledging Solo as a tribal chief, and this is his decision to make, but you bring up a very great point. There is very few ways that you can completely take control of a company by other than just literally winning every title there is there. I think they messed up in the sense of getting Jay to lose a title, but until Jay acknowledges him, that was a good move, right? If Jay can acknowledge Solo as his tribal chief, win the Intercontinental Championship back, which he's fully capable of doing by beating Braun Breaker, and then you can get Jacob Fatu the U.S. Championship match, and then you can get Roman to be the World Heavyweight Champion, Solo be the WWE Champion, and then you have the tag team title. Dude, there's nothing else. They have every title in the WWE. Like, that is hands down already. I get how long of a reign Roman Reigns had, but that would hands down be the most prominent place that the bloodline has ever been. And it would be at the hands of Solo Sikoa being the tribal chief. That would make for the greatest bloodline moment and place in history. They would never be forgotten. This would be phenomenal right there. I think Solo needs to be acknowledged here because, again, I know we always come back to that. We always come back to Solo Sikoa being tribal chief and what the bloodline is doing and everything. It is the most prominent story in WWE, and it's because of Solo Sikoa, in large part because of Solo Sikoa, I'd say. Obviously, other people have some things to do with it. But Solo, you have to acknowledge that he is keeping them within that island of relevancy, like Roman likes to say. Mm-hmm. And his faction of the bloodline is fully in line with Solo. The other side has no idea what they're doing. Yeah. I just feel like we have to acknowledge that. Like, there is no questioning the tribal chief within the Bloodline 2.0, right? Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, Jacob Fatu. He stripped a title away from Fatu. And Fatu, to this day, it says this in his sleep. He says, I love you, Solo.
He does.
You're my tribal chief, Solo.
He probably does say,
You know
"I
what I
love
mean?
you," Solo in his sleep. That's right.
That's Jacob Fatu, and he took a title away from him. There is no questioning who's at that head, and it's a very strong leadership. I think the guys got the right. The OG bloodline needs to get out of their own way and unify the family, because if they do that, what you just brought up is a very real possibility. We can very really see that you can have every title on the show. It's right there for you. They can reclaim the tag team titles, which we have to acknowledge that they lost it. So they actually have no gold around their waist at all. So this is a big leap. But if you're fully unified, I don't see why not you can't get those tag team titles. And
Oh
maybe
yeah, they
even
can
at
get
the
them
point
back.
you can get it to a point where you have Jimmy and Jay, you have the Usos win the tag team titles on Raw, and you have Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa win them on SmackDown. And now you have both of the tag titles, you have both of the mid card titles with Jay being a dual champion with the IC chip and and then you have Jacob Fatu winning the U.S. Championship, and then you have Roman winning the most prestigious title on WWE right now, which I consider the World Heavyweight Championship. And then we finally take Cody Rhodes. Finally get the belt off Cody Rhodes, which has been long overdue, and put it around the guy who can actually maintain that prestige, which is Solo Sikoa as the WWE champion, and have him be the face of the company. And you have the greatest you have the greatest faction in history. I think you already have claim to that, but like now you solidify yourselves. This bloodline is the greatest bloodline to ever grace a WWE wrestling ring.
I hear where you're going with it. I understand what you expect. I think that that's a big lofty dream for everything to be unified. I'm seeing a lot of division that I don't see going away. I think Roman is on a journey, on a path to prove himself as righteous. Whether that's going to happen or not, we'll have to wait and see. Acknowledging Solo as the current tribal chief, I think, is an important first step, so that we can elevate the importance of tribal chiefdom. Just like when Roman had prior, he said that the Ulafala holder is the person who is the tribal chief. I think we need to get to an alignment on what does the tribal chiefdom mean. And once we get that, and once we can have that alignment, whether we go for a unification or a complete dissolution with some of the players going into the Bloodline 2.0, that's fine. But we need to get away from the Bloodline, OG Bloodline versus Bloodline 2.0. And the only path I see is acknowledgement. So let's acknowledge Solo Sikoa as the tribal chief, whether you
Everyone
want
get your ones
Roman
up.
Reigns or whether you don't. Acknowledge your tribal chief, Solo Sikoa.
I have my ones in the sky right now. And I'll say this too. I also don't see a path in which you have Roman Reigns going back to being tribal chief, because Jay's not going to acknowledge him as tribal chief. We know Jimmy will, but Jay won't. I know Solo will if he gets the Ulafala taken off of him by Roman Reigns. I think that the Tongans and Fatu will if Solo does. I think Jay doesn't, but I just don't see it happening very smoothly. I think it's a smoother transition with Solo as tribal chief. And I think you have a more dominant and more cohesive bloodline with Solo as the tribal chief. But there is a lingering issue, and I think it's the last thing that we have to talk about here with The Rock, the final boss. Where does the final boss fit into all of this? Because we saw him at Bad Blood and haven't heard from him since. And he's clearly unhappy with this direction. If Solo Sikoa is acknowledged as a tribal chief by everybody, does The Rock fall in line? Does The Rock come in and try to break things up? We don't know what side The Rock is on. We have no idea where The Rock stands on this. We just know he's not happy.
I think we have to see The Rock doing exactly what we just said to our amazing audience. We have to see The Rock acknowledge the tribal chief, or else we don't have a bloodline that is solidified. The Rock came out and acknowledged Roman Reigns before WrestleMania 40 and made it very clear that he was on board with recognizing tribal chiefdom. At this time, I'll be honest with you, I don't care if he comes out final boss, 1, 2, 3, throat cut, gesture, I don't care. Here's what I care about. Does he come out and say Solo Sikoa is the current tribal chief? And then we can move forward with how this is going to go. I'm not sure.
Agreed.
Does he even come out anytime soon? Or are we going to see the end of this before he comes? I don't know. I'm interested to find out. For now, we'll work on acknowledging our tribal chief, and I will work on acknowledging you, my tribal Reef, to take us home.
And we appreciate everyone for tuning in as we do every already 8 episodes in, man. That feels like, what, 2 months of episode support. The comments on the YouTube page, the likes and shares you guys have given us on Instagram and TikTok. Please continue to follow us there. Tell your friends to follow us there. Share this. Like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. And we really, really do appreciate having you guys there. We're going to do something awesome for you guys. One of these shows coming up. But continue that love, that support. This is the end of our show. So, Darth Cyro, as always, any closing words?
Thank you so much for listening. And as Reef said, please find us on all your socials. We're also on there posting and reacting. We love to hear from you all. So react back to us. Let's engage. We'd love to do that. And we'd love to bring your opinions here on the show if we can. Thanks again for listening. And thanks for tuning into WWP as always.
And we love everything WWE. And as always, for all things WWE, we only trust the WWP. Good night, and see you next week.